Leftist Scolding. Yes, Leftist Scolding. So, the big issue that we're talking about today is WokeScolds. I can say that WokeScolds are basically a cancer. The thing is that, yes, of course, there's a lot of this whole idea of that. I want to say that literally people who are the majority do not understand the plea of the minorities. And I can understand that. I can understand that, of course, many people do not understand what it's like to be a minority. They don't understand the whole situation of it. But WokeScolds don't make it easy to get these people on board. They don't make it easy to get these people to understand what is going on. They don't make it easy for people to change their minds. The problem that WokeScolds cause is that what they do is they belliger people into making them more ingrained in their previous beliefs. It is scientifically known. You can look this up in the APA, the American Psychiatric Association. You can look this up in many other different things. They have peer-reviewed stuff on this, that whenever people go forth and you belliger people with facts or with this or with that, whatever, whenever you push people into things like this, people become more and more and more ingrained in what they previously believed. This is why people consistently, even in the psychiatric communities and so forth, consistently push things like cognitive behavioral therapy, etc. Because cognitive behavioral therapy is a system of which where psychiatrists will ask questions about why specific people believe in certain things to get them to critically think and examine about the delusions and about the other sort of things that they actually believe, so that way they may come to the conclusion that those specific delusions and things that they believed are not valid and therefore not worth actually believing in. This is why I sit back, and I know some people are going to say, well, you know, the whole system with this so-called street epistemology thing, because I agree with street epistemology a little bit, is, you know, whatever. But the process of it, street epistemology is just is a philosophical term for that kind of CBT. It's just another version of CBT that is more advanced than cognitive behavioral therapy. It is a non-invasive form of basically going forth, asking people questions on how, why, what, and how they actually came to believe this, why they believe this, and how and what makes them think that, you know, that this is actually valid, and how we can actually get them to change. And it's a system, it's a structured sort of questioning thing to get them to think differently over a period of time, in which you would gradually work them off of this so-called belief system and make them think critically about what they're you know, about what they believe, about these false beliefs about positions. So my thing is that WokeScolds don't ever push that. WokeScolds come into this whole notion of you need to be exactly fully on support of trans rights, fully on support of racial racial justice and etc. etc. You need to be fully on support of this and this and this, blah 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 blah. Hey, I support those things, but you have to understand something, okay? To a normal person, they don't know what those things are. And when you come across saying, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this, you have to do, and you don't ask them why they believe in certain things, what makes them believe in this, why they do this, why is this, and you don't, have them critically examine and come to critical conclusions about why they believe in certain things, and you don't bring in this non-evasive form of getting them to think critically about certain things, they're going to shut down. And they're not going to want to come to you, and they're going to want to see you as, they're going to see you as somebody who is not, they're going to see you as somebody who they don't want to talk to. And that's the whole point, and that's what we're seeing with this whatever. Call me whatever you want to call me, but that's the point. And I bring this forth for reasons. Because I've seen it before. I've seen it with Essence of Thought. I've seen it with some of my friends in other communities, losing whatever due to this before. And it's just not a very good idea. Some of my friends went into a big deal with, of course, the NIFB, big battle with the NIFB. As of course you guys know, I'm friends with some people in the atheist community and so forth. The newer guard of the atheist community, which is much more left-leaning than the older guard. And we got into battle with the NIFB, and the NIFB is very, very anti-LGBT, very, very nationalistic, very much neo-Nazi, and we had to deal with some stuff with people with Essence of Thought and with this and with that, and whole debacle of this sort of woke scolding happening within our community, within that community, and an area where, of course, they ended up coming out and started to support the NIFB over us, even though the NIFB would have seen them as dead. The NIFB would have had it that they be killed. And yet we were coming out saying, no, look, we support you. We do this. We do that. We support your full rights to be a human being. But they were like, no, we're going to scold you. We're going to attack you. We're going to do this to you. And that's the whole problem with this. When you don't critically examine when you scold people and you don't critically examine what people believe, they're going to shut down. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And you're going to lose friends. You're going to lose this. You're going to lose that. You're going to separate everything, and everything's going to break apart. That's why you see now, as much as I say it, that people are becoming leftist, people in some way, as far as on YouTube, are becoming less accepting of leftists. in some ways too. And it's hurting us. It is really hurting us, especially when we talk about trying to win Congress, trying to take over the Democratic Party for the socialist movement, trying to get people like Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and people like that, people who would support things like the Green New Deal, people who would support people who are going to push in transgender rights, people who are going to support these social justice movements, people who are going to support these movements that are going to put forth these reforms for the social justice things that you guys are talking about. And this comes about just because somebody had said something 10 years ago or did something 10 years ago that has no relation to what they're doing today. No. If you want to grow the left, if you want the left to be a dominant force out there, then you cannot be trying to tell people, look, you have to be this way, you have to be that way, you have to be whatever. And when people are going out and then doing this, going out and being like Steven Crowder, you need to figure out why they're being like Steven Crowder. And you need to figure out why they're being like Steven Crowder from their perspective, not what you presume them to be. You need their perspective. You need them to discuss why they believe it. You need them to come forth and discuss what brought them into this whole personification. You need the whole cognitive behavioral examination of them, and you need them to examine their own belief systems and their own things, and you need them to come forth and change their beliefs through their whatever. That's the thing. And you're not going to do this by scolding them. The other problem is, when you scold people, you fit the mold that they made for you to fit. Because that's exactly, you can look at it. Steven Crowder goes forth and literally goes forth and then says that, SJWs or, the leftists get offended at every little thing that happens. That's basically what they say. They say that we get offended at every little thing that happens. And now you're going out there and you're getting offended at every little thing that happens. You're fitting their mold. The other thing is own words. Own words, because that makes them, what that does is that makes them have to, that makes them, I'm not trying to be demanding myself, but that makes them look silly. If you own words, you use cognitive behavioral therapy, aka street epistemology, whatever, and you get them to critically think about things, and you do not scold them, which is basically what we're talking about, this WokeScolding stuff. You will get them to change their minds. Trust me, you will. Much easier than you will doing some of the stuff that people are doing here. I'm telling you, you will. Trust me, you will. This stuff works. This is why psychologists do this all the time. This is why it is done in the psychiatric fields every single day, because it fucking works. Okay? So When you guys think about, oh, this and this and this, note, these sort of things work. These CBT, whatever the start stuff, it works. The scolding people doesn't work. This idea we want to purge the left and then change everything, it's not going to happen. You're not going to change stuff that way. You change people, you change things by doing stuff like this. You're going to get work done by doing stuff like this. Trust me. I'm not trying to be rude or be whatever, but that's the way it is. I had to say things, didn't I? I had to be this way. I had to be a little crazy today. I know some people are probably not going to pay attention to this video, but it is what it is. I just have to deal with things. I just have to inoculate things. People are just not going to pay attention, but it is. I know the WokeScolds are going to come on here and probably they're going to downvote the video. They're probably going to get mad at me because I said this, but who the fuck cares? Reality is they need to learn a lesson, okay? Because you're not going to win a movement by getting up here and then doing everything that Steven Crowder basically says you do, by getting offended at everything. Okay. I mean, yes, of course, these are offensive things, but you need to own these. You need to own things. That's the thing. Not trying to be offensive, but that's just what it is. Okay. You guys want to follow me? You follow me on Twitter, Patreon, donate to me on Patreon. Follow me on Twitch. I haven't really posted much. I haven't really posted anything on Twitch yet because I'm too scared of the fucking right wingers that may come on here. So I haven't really done anything, but I've thought of some things. You can follow me on basically anything. I'm even on BreadTube, but on Reddit. So even though those links are not, the Reddit link is not in the description, but the other stuff is in the description. Literally my Patreon link, my Twitter link, my Facebook link, all that stuff is in the description. Only Reddit's not. So thank you. So yes, of course, obviously, one last little thing before I go. As you guys know, I am an atheist. I wanted to say this one thing about WokeScolds at the end of this video. The thing is, well, it's a few things. The thing is, you see, when I deconverted from Christianity, I found out that atheists were kind of scolding Christians for being Christians. And I also saw that, I remember that Christians had cried about this, complained about this. They went on. I remember Christians were saying in the church that, atheists were God haters, that they were mentally disabled, they were this, they were that, they needed to be in the loony bin, that this and this and this, and that they would always complain about atheists and they would always do all this other shit. And it became, as I said before, more ingrained in their beliefs. It didn't make them atheists. It made them Christians. The same thing happens with politics. The other thing is the CBT, The reason why it's used by psychologists is because it works 90% of the time. 90% of the time. Getting people to think critically about their delusions and about their this. And using practices that use CBT or cognitive behavioral type of practices works 90% of the time. That's why those type of practices are used in clinical psychological institutions. I ain't saying it wrong. Debate can work. It does work. It does get people to critically think. There is areas where it can work. I mean, it can change the people that are viewing the debate's minds, but it's not going to change the person who you're debating against's mind directly as easily as CBT will. CBT actually gets them to start thinking. That's why it has a 90% chance of working. It's 90% over, I think, 70, I think it's like 70 or 70 to 90% chance of working over the course of something like 8 sessions with a psychotherapist. And that's 8 sessions, could be an hour, 45 minutes, whatever, depending on the therapeutic whatever. And you can do that type of practice, not in a psychotherapy group. You can do it anywhere you want if you know how to do it and you can do it correctly. Just saying. Peace out.